It's time for Mid-Valley Matters with Jeff Morgan and Dean Craig. Live local talk about issues and topics here in the Valley on 1430 KYKN, where Salem is listening.
Welcome to another Friday. Fridays keep sneaking up on us, and there seems to be one every week. I know. Dean Craig, thanks for joining us on Mid-Valley Matters, and we have another special guest.
Right?
We keep bringing them in.
We do.
And they keep coming. We don't know why.
Well, because people like the show.
I think so. I've been going through April, or started in April, and so here we are. Gosh, already October.
I know.
Incredible.
Mind-boggling to me.
Tony Frazier, welcome to Mid-Valley Matters.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And so what do you do? What's your business? I mean, where do you...
I am currently the director of the Salem Kroc Center.
Okay, I just wanted to get that out there.
The Salvation Army Kroc Center?
Yes.
Okay.
Just to be clear.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where'd you grow up, your family, and things of that nature?
I grew up probably in one of the best places in Oregon, Brookings. Has the most sunny days a year on the coast in the state of Oregon. It's right by the California border. Mm-hmm. It was a tiny little town then, but then all the Californians moved in. It's not very tiny now.
They move everywhere.
Jeff's one.
I'm one of them.
Right, nice.
What's the population of Brookings now?
Oh, gosh, now I don't know. I
don't either.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Google
I think it was
knows.
only like 6,000 or 8,000 then, but probably
maybe about 30?
20 or 30 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because Crescent City's right kind of next to it, isn't it?
About 30 minutes south.
Okay, yeah. So
in
they kind of
California
combine.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up playing on the beach. You know, that was back in the day when it was be home by dark.
Right.
Most kids don't get to do that anymore, but
sadly.
so yeah. So man, if mom knew what we did, we go down and play on those rocks on the beach, get stranded out there, the tide comes in and all that. It's a wonder we survived some days. But yeah, grew up just playing and went to high school there, graduated from there. And what brought me to Salem was coming to college at Corbin University.
Oh, really?
Oh, cool.
Good for
Which
you.
way back when was Western Baptist
That's
College.
right.
Yeah.
100 years ago.
And you graduated when?
92.
92.
Yeah.
Think about that one for a minute.
I did.
Saw that.
All right.
Didn't see
deal.
that one
And
coming.
what'd you study? What was your
Finance.
No,
Got a degree
really?
in finance, yeah.
Why finance?
Well, I started off in accounting and realized that was not me.
Because you're a people guy.
Accounting's very history focused. Finance is more future focused, and I wanted something other than just a business degree, and so I picked finance. It was a little more exciting, given that future focus to it.
Yeah.
Who's the prof there at that point? For
Reno
finance?
Hoff.
Hoff. And there's a building named after him. Isn't there a Hoff? Hoff
me.
something.
There is.
I remember going there.
Huh.
I've been in that building, but
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
So that was good times too, college, you know.
Yeah.
And then I was working for a builder, actually, Quality Built Homes here in Salem. Eddie Wilson, great guy, and gave me a job, and I started cleaning up job sites. And
with a finance degree.
yeah, with finance. Well, I didn't have the degree yet.
Okay.
Okay, you
I
were
was-
still in school?
Job while I was still in school, yeah.
Gotcha.
But here's the thing, and I may have shared this with Dean in the past, but I was enjoying learning the skills, the trades, so much that when I did graduate, I thought to myself, I'm going to stick around and make sure I got this before I move on.
Yeah.
Right? I wanted to be able to build my own house someday, which I did before ending my tenure there at Quality Built. I was able to build my first 1,600 square foot, 4-bed, 2-bath house that my wife and I and our first daughter got to move into
That's so cool.
years and years ago. Yeah.
That is awesome.
So I went to work during the day for Eddie and then went to work for myself the rest of the till it got dark. And then when winter set, I pulled out the lights, kept going.
Right?
Yep. So put a lot of sweat
building.
equity.
In the bad weather, too. I mean, shoot, that's I got to give you kudos on that one.
Yeah.
I used to do that stuff down in California, too, and I wouldn't be caught dead in the rain building.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's
a different
I'm
story
not
up
even
here.
gonna talk about
Right.
what I've had to do in the rain.
Right. So then, I got to a point where it's like, gosh, I got to get some mileage out of this degree. And so I started looking for something else, and with what do you do with a finance degree? Insurance, banking,
Right.
finance stuff. Well, I've been out now in the field for 9 years, and I got interviews, and I was walking through these spaces, and I'm looking at these 8x8 foot cubicles,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh boy,
That's prison.
I don't know. Like, how do people do this all day? Anyway, so let's see. Long story short, I guess I was able to secure employment with another local contractor and became a construction project manager. And then tootling along that, I loved it. I did projects everywhere from Corvallis to Portland, residential, commercial, some federal projects. I had one federal project going over at the coast in Newport there, the Marine Science Center. Really, really enjoyed all of that. And what really moved me out of that arena was the boss and his wife didn't really get along. And I was kind of caught in the middle of that. And I'm like, man, life's too short for this. I enjoyed the work. I didn't enjoy the context. So that made me a little introspective, and I thought, I need to earn money. I have a family, but I also want to feel like I'm giving back somehow through my
contributing.
Work. Mm-hmm. And so...
You have one child, two?
I had two by then, and so a friend of mine gave me an article in paper. Oh, well, my wife and I had done Proctor Care, which is care of adjudicated youth in your home. So these kids have committed their crimes, served their time, and our job was to transition them back to their families. So we had that, did that for 5 years with girls. Anyway, a buddy of mine gave me an ad in the paper that said, wanted someone to teach at-risk youth construction trade skills, no teaching certificate required. And I was like, well, I want to teach. I know construction.
Yeah.
Anyway, I pursued that.
You obviously had a heart for kids if you're doing the Proctor thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yep. At-risk youth didn't scare me.
Right.
Those are some good times, actually. So this was working with kids who dropped out of high school and needed to get back on track, get their GED, and get some job skills. And so I went to work for a program called Youth Build in Lebanon, Oregon. And I worked there for 10 years, and that's really where I grew my passion for serving that high school age demographic that struggles a little bit to get their bearings straight, right? Yeah. And maybe they fell off the wagon and need somebody to pick them back up, dust them off, and help them find a plan and a path forward, right? And so I did that for 10 years, and I loved every minute of it. I probably learned more from those kids than I ever taught them about life. And
you were about building houses with them.
Correct.
Right?
Habitat for Humanity houses.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Literally took them out to the job site, put tools in their hands, taught them how to use them.
Right. Safely.
And, don't throw them.
Yeah, exactly. And built houses. And the cool thing was, at the end of the day, right, we'd get in the bus to head back, and those kids would be looking out the window at the walls they just stood up, right? And you could tell, you could get the sense, the vibe that they were proud of the work that they did, right? Good, meaningful work. And I noticed over time what that did was it changed their perspective on a lot of things. It changed their perspective towards their own peers, towards authority, and towards their education.
Yeah.
They just started to look at life a little differently because what they realized is they could add value to the world, which added value to themselves.
Right. Their self-worth
making a difference.
Grows.
Now, these kids, a lot of times, are the ones that they're a little bit beat down sometimes, right? The people who do care or should care about them don't always help them out. You know, they tell them, you're going to be just like your dad, or you're never going to make it, and stuff like that. So,
yeah, Tony Frazier from the Kroc Center.
We'll get to that next segment.
Yeah, we will. This is good stuff. What a great story, Tony. Look forward to hearing more. Mid-Valley Matters, right here on 1430 KYKN, where Salem is listening.
The conversation continues on Mid-Valley Matters with Jeff and Dean on 1430 KYKN, where Salem is listening.
Welcome back to Mid-Valley Matters. Bless you, Dean.
Thank you, Jeff.
Those things happen.
They do.
Came back live, and all of a sudden, there it goes.
Human beings.
Yeah, that's right. We are where we are. This thing being brought to you by Rich Duncan Construction. Appreciate Rich and all he does in our community. He's a good guy and has a great business and does a lot of phenomenal things.
Absolutely.
Visiting with Tony Frazier. What do you do for the Kroc Center, Salvation Army, one more time?
The center director there.
Center director. Yep. So... yeah, you've had a great story. I mean, just the kids, troubled kids that you've got and made them, it's almost a mentoring type thing that you did through construction, giving them a sense of worth. And so now you're at the Kroc Kroc Center. Tell us a little bit more about that, about the Kroc Center Salvation Army a little bit.
Give us some history.
Yeah, I think what most people don't really understand is that the Kroc Center, the fitness center that it is, was actually founded on a cheeseburger. Most people think it's like Croc shoes. They get hung up right there, you know?
Right.
But it's really Ray Kroc, founder of McDonald's, right? Built a fortune over the years, of course, and left it with his second wife, Joan. And they had a strong relationship with the Salvation Army in San Diego, California, where they lived. And Mayor of San Diego calls up Joan Kroc one day and says, "Hey, let me take you for a drive." So he takes her for a drive kind of through the ghetto areas of San Diego. She sees little kids playing in the street, no place to be really, nothing to do really, and her heart was moved. And she
imagine.
Yeah.
Charged the mayor with assembling a team to figure out what could be done. And so that team came up with the concept of Kroc Centers. They weren't called that yet. And Joan said, "All right, well, if the Salvation Army will lead this project, I will fund it." Wow. And so $90 million later, the first Kroc Center was built in San Diego, California.
Wow.
Complete with a full-on ice hockey rink.
That's pretty interesting.
Crazy.
How many ice hockey rinks do you suppose were in San Diego at that time? 2?
I
have
don't
no
know.
idea.
I mean, that can't be very many. It's not a hockey mecca.
Right.
They don't really have a hockey team down there.
Right.
So I don't even know.
But the fact that they decided to do this, I think, is pretty doggone cool.
Yeah. So she was very pleased, of course, and was there for the grand opening of it. And then a few years later, when she passed, she left $1.5 billion to the Salvation Army to build Kroc Centers all around the nation. Yes.
In a trust, I would imagine.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we were the third one built 14 years ago here in Salem. Yep. We beat out Portland on it. We had to compete for that. This community had to rally and come together and raise some funds.
Yeah.
Joan put probably somewhere around $40 million towards the project.
Wow.
And then the community had to come up with, I think, roughly 8 or 10. And we pulled it off. We Salem, right?
I remember this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about it.
Yeah.
It was good times. And so yeah. There's 26 Kroc Centers now throughout the nation.
Wow.
One in Hawaii that I still want to visit. Yes, they have their own hometown feel and characteristics. They're similar in concept.
Okay.
But they all look different. We have a pretty nice one, actually, 95,000 square feet.
That's beautiful facility.
2 swimming pools, 30-foot rock wall, a workout facility, gym, and meeting space that can seat up to 300 in our events and catering.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't you hold church services there too?
Yep, Sundays.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Army Corps holds church services both in English and in Spanish.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Very good.
You do well. I'm gonna let you get into some of the activities that you do, but I'm intrigued by this whole idea that they built it here. We beat out Portland, which I think is phenomenal in itself.
Right.
We built it here, and then when you came in, I remember there was a hubbub building it, and then it got kind of quiet.
Mm-hmm.
You came in how long ago?
A little over 4 years ago now. I'm in my 5th year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot more about it. And I mean, my hats off to you, Tony, because I think you've had an awful lot to do with that.
Thank you.
Talk about it. Tell us.
Yeah. Well, gosh, when I got to the Kroc Center, I walked in that place and I'm like, somebody just handed me a 95,000 square foot playground. And, my background is helping these kids who struggle a little bit, right? And we weren't doing that yet at this Kroc Center. And so my first thought was, how do I get a GED center in here? I called some of the VPs over at Chemeketa. They showed up a few days later. We walked through. We talked about it. We're kind of just dreaming at this point. Like, this seems to be a place where kids would want to be. And then COVID hits.
Yeah.
I'm just ramping up. 8 months in, COVID hits. We convert to an emergency first responder childcare place.
Yeah.
And we hosted 100 kids for about 8 weeks during that first summer. Wow. Converted quickly, shut the place down, and then converted. Incidentally, turning the Kroc Center off was like flipping a switch. Turning it back on was like trying to get a locomotive going.
Not bad.
But we knew COVID money was going to rain down soon like manna from heaven, and so I was aligning us to get in front of some of that funding for youth, to serve youth. And we were able to secure nearly $1 million during that couple-year time frame. And we built some youth programming. Started off, nobody knew we did youth programming, right? So we start with like 6 kids, then 8 kids. And in about 16 months, we'd grown that program to 400 Salem Kaiser high school students.
Wow.
Yeah. That funding ended last June. Yeah. We wrote 4 more grants and recently found out, we found out third week of July. So there's this 3 weeks of, third week of July that we got 2 of the 4 grants we wrote, which was about $440,000.
Nice.
That'll cover us for another couple of years, but we're scaling down the size of it, but getting more intentional with the programming we're doing with the young people. So we have on-site things that they have to do, and one of them is workforce development. We're really building a real strong workforce with development track. So when you're working with young people, if that isn't one of the focuses, you're kind of missing the boat, right?
100%.
Especially for kids that aren't necessarily university bound right out of the gate. Doesn't mean they won't ever go.
Which frankly is the majority.
Yeah. So yeah, we've built a very strong component there. And then I never gave up on my GED idea. And recently, the Marion County Commissioners voted unanimously to fund our first year of our program, and we just opened that last week.
Awesome.
GED Center inside the Kroc Center. And I will have you know, there is no other GED center in Salem that has 2 swimming pools, a 30-foot rock wall, workout facility, and a gym.
Keeps them in shape, too. Go to school and get in shape.
Right?
That is awesome.
Right. So that's very exciting. That's a major hurdle for us. Again, it's a place kids want to be. And I just wanted to, what we noticed during, when school started back up shortly after COVID, so we had kids hanging out in our hallway in our program, but during the school day. So then we start talking to them, and they have the reasons, right? I get bullied. My teachers don't care about me, whatever it is.
Sure.
And so I'm like, well, gosh, if we could put school here, we remove a barrier. Yeah. Right? Because if I have to tell a kid, hey, go across town to the Chemeketa campus, find building 2, go to the 2nd floor, find Mrs. So-and-so.
Not happening.
Yeah.
They're not going.
Yeah.
Now, if I can say, go across the hall and study GED for an hour and then go shoot hoops.
They're all over it.
Way different story.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty stoked about that piece. So we'll be serving, in fact, we have an orientation tonight for our rebound program, we call it. We're going to serve about 60 kids, including the 15 in the GED program once it's full. And
that's so cool. There's
trucking.
just such a huge need, and there's a lot of organizations that are working to help young people out, but we need more.
Yeah,
we always will need more.
Definitely not a saturated market.
No, right. Unfortunately, no.
Right. Yeah,
good on you, man. Good on you.
I'm wondering what else you could do. I mean, that's a lot. But there's I'm just looking at just the way that the schools are right now, and there's just so much. I hate to say it, there's so much garbage going on in the schools.
It's tough.
And I feel bad for these kids growing up right now. And so there's got to be some positive, there's got to be some positive stuff that you can just drill into these kids. And so I'm just going to ask you a question. What positive things is coming out of the GED program? I mean, do you have any ideas on what that is?
Yeah. So when we started ramping up our youth programming after COVID, when we could all get back together again, right? Incidentally, COVID created COVID policy, let's say, created some of the highest depression and suicide rates in that demographic ever.
Yeah.
Highest ever, right? So we see these kids, they started coming in, right? And the one thing we noticed right away is how desperately they wanted to be together. And they wanted connection with their peers, with caring adults. It almost didn't matter. They wanted to be somewhere doing something.
It's a human
right?
condition.
Yeah. You can't lock us up with a mask on.
Right?
Exactly. And so we noticed that right away, and that was very exciting, just as being a place to come together, right? And so with the COVID money, we set a very low bar, just get them in here. And with that funding, we were able to feed them a meal every night they showed up and give them a membership to the Kroc Center. And then we provided additional programming along the way. And so currently with the funding that we have, where we're getting a little bit more focused, they get a meal when they're participating in programming at the Kroc Center now. They have to commit to programming to be in the rebound program. And they get a membership then to the Kroc Center. So also with your GED, if you're working on the GED, you get a meal when you come to work on your GED, and you get a membership to the Kroc Center. So it's a pretty good deal for a kid.
Yeah,
it's really great. I mean, it's horribly sad to me how many kids don't know where they're going to eat.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot.
I don't think it's going to get any better.
Eventually,
I mean, unfortunately,
maybe, I
I don't know either. But I mean, I guess in the near future, you just don't know. So I commend you for doing that. I think that's fantastic for these kids.
Yeah,
they need it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of joy in that, and then too in the programming as they discover themselves, you just see the lights come on, right, and as they have a mishap here and there, they fall off the wagon again. We pick them back up. Yeah. They're kids, but they at least know, or now we've become known as the place that there's some consistency. We care. We're not going to judge you.
Yeah.
If you fall down, we're going to pick you up. That kind of stuff, right? And there's a strong sense of it. In fact, right now, as we're rolling into our new programming tonight, I think we have 60 young people signed up for orientation. This is the orientation where they're going to learn that they now have to be committed to things that we're doing at the Kroc Center, youth programming, workforce development, GED programs, some of our other programs, and so it's not just a free ride now, right? You got to commit to things. So,
sure thing.
Yep. So we'll see how it goes tonight.
That's part of life. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Yep. And they can lose their spot if they don't attend and engage. They can lose their rebound spot, and somebody in the waiting line gets it.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, so, consequences.
Yeah, consequences. Imagine that. Well, you could get fired.
I think it's great because this is, yes, they might lose their spot, but it's not going to financially cripple them.
Right.
Now's
the time to learn
it.
Right?
Learn.
Yeah.
This is the time to learn these things.
Yep.
This is great.
Yeah.
All right. Visiting with Tony Frazier from the Kroc Center, Center Director. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. Appreciate your time here. This is good. Good information, especially for the kids, the parents. Let's get these kids educated.
Yeah.
If they're having some issues in school, it's a big deal. So Mid-Valley Matters right here on 1430 KYKN. Salem is listening.
Back to Mid-Valley Matters with Jeff and Dean on 1430 KYKN, where Salem is listening.
Welcome back to Mid-Valley Matters. This MD brought to you by Advantage Heating and Air. Dan Summers, appreciate his sponsorship and all he does in our community.
Super guy.
Good stuff. Visiting with Tony Frazier, the director over at the Kroc Center, and you're doing some phenomenal things over there with these kids. I think it's great. Just the more we talk, during the show and just during the break. Right. I mean, super cool stuff. I'm really impressed with the purpose now over there at the Kroc Center, intentionally helping these kids. It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're coming down to our question, Tony. We got to know what matters to you. Just in this community and just in life, what are you all about, and what's your passion?
So I spent some time coming up with my own personal life vision and mission statement, and that helped me define some things about getting focused about the kinds of things I wanted to do with my life, and the best of all, it helped me learn what to say no to, right? Which helps keep you focused.
Absolutely.
And so my personal life vision is to inspire others to challenge the status quo. Now, I can do that with adults. I can do it with kids. I can do it in any room they give me a microphone. That's why I get out of bed. It's what burns white hot in my soul to go do, to inspire people to challenge their own status quo. Don't be stuck in one spot. Be someone different tomorrow than you are today. That whole piece, right? My mission is to build transformational space with like-minded individuals. And my method is by building mutually beneficial relationships wherever I go.
I like that.
That filter is what allows me to focus so intentionally on the things that I want to get done. Really, over time, as I look back on my career, there's been no youth programming I've set out to build that I haven't been able to fund in some way.
Yeah.
And part of that is that find like-minded individuals to build that transformational space, right? Not everybody's going to get on your bandwagon. I'm a nut sometimes, and people look at me.
Good.
People look at me and like, I don't know about that guy. But the thing is, some people go, I'm going to attach to that wagon because it seems like it's going somewhere, right? And so you just need enough of those people who then bring their own resources and their own talent and their own stuff to bear to the thing, right? For me, it tends to be building out youth programming in whatever fashion I can pull it together. I call it moving planets sometimes, right?
Feels like it, I bet.
Yeah. So that's the filter that drives me, right? And I think the youth space, particularly, at-risk youth, kids who struggle, has just found a place in my heart years ago when I worked in frontline service, and it's just never let go. And so I can't not do this wherever I go.
Yeah.
I don't know how to not do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, investing in the life of a young person, particularly one who struggled, particularly one who believes they can't do it.
Yeah.
When you can turn that person around, and here's the thing, these kids are brilliant. So I did 10 years frontline service, building houses with the kids for Habitat for Humanity, right? 10 years with kids who dropped out of high school. They didn't always want to be on the job site, but they learned stuff, and we managed to build 20 houses over 10 years.
Wow.
Okay. So these are the kids that society is trying to tell you that they're worthless. They're kind of kicked to the curb kind of thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, how can they be worthless? We built 20 houses in 10 years.
Yeah.
Like that's a contribution to community, right?
Indeed.
So here's the thing. We just don't understand them. They just simply think about the world a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. So the way I saw my job was, can I get them to switch the lens they're looking through? Because you can't tell these kids what to do. The minute you start trying to tell them what to do, it's over.
It's done, yeah.
But you could potentially influence them to think differently about how they think about the world. And so that was my job. Like I got to do that every day. For every kid I had on the job site, I had a different way of teaching. So if I had 12 kids, I taught 12 ways.
Wow.
Right? Which was nice to have a smaller group.
Sure.
But that's one of the things I learned over time was every kid is different.
Right.
Right. And so once you unlock that, though, once you figure out what drives them and you build a relationship, right? So on a construction site, that's all about relationship building from my point of view.
A lot of trust goes on.
Yep. There. Then they'll tell you anything. In fact, I had to stop them a few times, right? Now, you probably don't want to share that with me. I'm a mandatory reporter. But I mean, I'm just saying, though, that's where it happens.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the thing, though. Once you have that trust in that relationship, you can be hard on them. Mm-hmm. You can tell them they're screwing up.
They'll trust you to be hard, but fair.
Yes. And it's because they know you still love them.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes people get a little, I don't know, feel a little awkward when I start talking about love. But if you don't genuinely love these kids, they will see it
instantly.
They're super perceptive. Mm-hmm. They can spot a phony a mile away.
Their whole life has been about survival.
Yep, exactly. So just think about this. You take that same intelligence, kind of that street life mentality, right? Mm-hmm. The couch surf. I mean, how some of these kids survive blew my mind. If you put me on the street for a week, I'm going to die, right? Yeah, exactly. But they do it. They're survivors. They do it. They figure it out. What if we could take that same intelligence and redirect it so that it makes more consistent right choices more often?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Right. Mind-boggling.
Change the world, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I love to do.
Tony, you're a visionary. I mean, you come up with these ideas, and you bring people together to make your ideas happen. There's not a lot of people like you out there. I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, how do people get a hold of you if they want to partner with you and help you do what you do with these kids and make these kids become something special in our community and actually thrive in our community and make our community better?
Yeah. You certainly call the Kroc Center. I'm always willing to have a conversation with somebody that wants to talk about how to do that, right? Make our community better, serve kids better, join the fight, so to speak, right? Get in the arena, get your hands dirty.
People are scared to do that too. I mean, I'm just going to call it out, because it's not easy.
It's
sometimes.
a risk.
Yeah.
Yep. I've had people tell me my stuff's never going to work, and I just don't listen to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
I don't know what I don't know.
Coming. Right. Thanks a lot.
Right.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. You have a great day.
Yeah. Tony Frazier, director of the Kroc Center. What a thrill it was to have you on. I appreciate your time and your willingness to
be
come
here
and share.
Thank you.
This is really cool stuff. If you want to get a hold of Tony, call the Kroc Center, and let's make good things happen out here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jeff Morgan, Dean Craig, Tony Frazier this time, Mid-Valley Matters right here on 1430 KYKN, where Salem is listening.
This has been Mid-Valley Matters with Jeff Morgan and Dean Craig. Live local talk about issues and topics here in the Valley every Friday at 1:20 p.m. on 1430 KYKN, where Salem is listening.